Welcome to Stories and Songs, a series of interviews featuring musicians from the world of jazz and improvisation. I'm Andrea Keller and I'm thrilled today to be speaking with Michelle Nicolle. Welcome, Michelle. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me, Andrea. G'day, everyone.
Absolute pleasure. So my first question, Michelle, is what have been the pivotal events in your musical journey?
Okay, so I think if I'm talking about starting off playing music, I played violin. I grew up in a country town in South Australia and I was playing violin and no one in my family played the violin or played music, and the teachers said, you know, we're going to start a string program, and I said I'd like to do that. And so I think it kind of just made me realize that maybe music's in me. I don't know. I was pretty terrible, but I did it anyway. And I had this fabulous teacher who made us all play in the orchestra. So there was a whole bunch of schools at the Barossa Valley Schools Orchestra. And even if you could only play open strings, you played in that orchestra. And so you kind of, what I discovered pretty quick is that it was a lovely way to be part of a community. And, you know, and I went through school thinking, I want to be a music teacher because I had such great teachers. And so that was my plan all through school. When I got to uni on the violin still, I kind of realized I didn't really like playing the violin and I was really, really terrible. And I started singing in the jazz choir, and the director of the choir kind of took a shine to me, and I guess he saw some potential. But the thing I remember the most, the thing that made me think, right, maybe I should do this, was a situation where we had the jazz choir, the Adelaide Connection it was called. We had a gig, a public gig, and one of my friends who was a soloist, she took a sickie, right? She was out, she actually went to a party. She was a party girl. This is at uni. And I had to say, oh, look, Helen can't be here tonight. She's really sick. So then when it came to her solo, he just said, right, you do it. So I had to go up the front, and I'd never even improvised before, never. And it was a song called 52nd Street, which is really daggy. Do you remember? The jazz was hot. You know, it was one of those sort of god-awful things. And I had to go up and improvise, and I don't even remember the form. I couldn't even tell you what. I don't think it was a blues. Oh, no, I think it's a rhythm changes, actually. I'm going to check it out. But I just got up and improvised. And I remember thinking, oh, God, that was it weird? And afterwards, everyone was going, oh, my gosh, you can do that. And I was like, really? It was that, you know. So that was when I realized maybe I had a natural leaning to it. And so I was about 19 when that happened. And then I started listening to jazz. I hadn't really listened before. And the first jazz record I bought was a Vince Jones record, which I think is really cool because I heard him on the radio station, local radio, you know, community radio in Adelaide. And I went and ordered the record because then you couldn't turn on your phone and go, oh, Vince Jones, blah, blah, blah. You had to wait for weeks. We remember that, don't we, Andrea?
Yeah. We do.
And I got this record called For All Colours, which is still my favorite Vince Jones record. And I just got into jazz and decided didn't want to be a music teacher anymore. I finished my degree, but started studying jazz, and then went on and did another 2 years of studying jazz vocal. So that, I guess that moment of being pushed up the front, I guess that was the turning point. Really, if I have to put it, you know, to pinpoint one thing, it was that just do it. And but of course I realized I found it pretty easy, but when I was playing violin, it wasn't easy. It was really, really hard. I had to practice, Andrea. And, and I would practice the week before an exam. So the exam would come and my fingers would be bleeding because I hadn't practiced before that. So I realized, you know, when I was playing violin, I found it really hard. And I was always just struggling to scrape through. I loved playing in orchestras. I loved that. But didn't like standing up and playing solo and being examined and stuff. So I realized how hard I had to work. And then I thought, hang on, I'm getting all this praise for doing something that's so easy. Singing is so easy for me. And improvising, I thought, well, this is easy. I thought, well, that's not very fair because my friends are sitting in practice rooms for hours practicing scales and my saxophone playing friends, my piano playing friends. I thought maybe I should practice. So, and then I'll deserve the praise. So I really just thought, right. And then of course, once you get that bug, you realize you actually get better, because I think improvising, particularly for a singer, because we don't have buttons to press, I don't need to know, it's easy to, and if you, most singers who are, any good are natural singers, right? So it's actually easy to a point, but then of course you hit a brick wall where you can't hear, you don't actually know what you're doing. So I didn't want to be that singer. I wanted to be someone who actually deserved the praise I was getting and actually knew what I was talking about and could actually, hold myself, be an equal to the people I was playing with in terms of theory and understanding of the music. So I really, but that came from myself, because no one was pushing me. Everyone was just telling me I was great, and I knew I didn't deserve that. So it was probably when I was about 19, I'd say, that started.
That is a great story. Love it. Love it. Thank you.
No
and
worries.
what obstacles have you faced along the way, and how have you dealt with them?
Well, I think the obstacles are really mostly from within, to be honest. I know as a woman, you face the sort of typical, look, thankfully it's happening less now, I have to say. But when I was coming up, I was a girl, and I was, obviously as a singer too, you're expected that you don't know anything. I mean, and, to be fair, a lot of singers don't know anything, and that's enough, and they can do it, because they can, somebody else has to carry them though, musically. And I knew I didn't want to be that. So I never felt that. I always felt like, no, test me. I mean, I know what, and of course I don't know everything. I like to be surrounded by people who are better than me, so I can go, oh God, I've got to work on that, absolutely. So I think that for me, facing some of that sort of typical sort of sexist sort of stuff you get, and, being a singer and having to be up the front and having to wear makeup and having to, push them out and wear some fancy clothes and all that. I mean, I had all those comments, and I had men on the bandstand saying really horrible things now that no one would ever put up with now. And you would just have a way to deal with them, which was just, fob them off. Make them look a bit silly for doing it. I've always been pretty good at that. So I think the struggles for me have been about keeping myself motivated always. I mean, and Corona's not helping. Let's just say it's not helping. And I remember when I first started leading my own band, when I first moved to Melbourne from Adelaide, I remember some of the remarks I was getting, because I was really trying so hard to prove myself as a serious musician as well as being a singer, that I was doing all these. I remember I was obsessed with Wayne Shorter, and I was obsessed with McCoy Tyner and all that, and I was doing all their tunes and writing lyrics and stuff. And I remember somebody said to me once, it was a horn player, I won't mention his name, but he said to me, why don't you just write your own tune like that? Why do you bother? I was thinking, because I can't. I can't, and I still feel that. That's a big struggle for me. I feel like I can write stuff, but it's never going to be as good as what Wayne Shorter can write, or, as a singer, as Gershwin or Cole Porter. I mean, I can't write anything that's going to be better than that. I can't write a song as good as Michelle Legrand. I just can't. So why bother trying, you see? So that's been my biggest struggle. And so for years once I got off that kick of trying to do mostly instrumental tunes, and I started playing more standards and loving that. I remember doing a gig in Sydney, and my band was on tour. We were doing a national tour, and we had to go to Sydney. And for some reason, the bass player had another gig, and the guitarist, I can't remember what we played at the Sidon Cafe. You remember the old Sidon?
Yeah, I do.
Parramatta.
Yeah.
Not Parramatta, was it? No, Parramatta Road. Yeah.
Parramatta Road. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we'd come from the Bellingen Jazz Festival. I think maybe they still had to stay there. I can't remember. But anyway, I had Lloyd Swanton playing bass, right? And of course, Lloyd was a huge hero because of the Catholics. I mean, and the Necks, and James Muller playing guitar. And I knew James from Adelaide because he's an Adelaide boy. anyway, we were sound checking, and I was walking them, talking them through the arrangements. I remember Lloyd Swanton said, "Oh my God, Michelle, why do all of your songs, meaning that my repertoire, not the songs I've written, why do all these songs have so many chords?" And I thought, well, bugger you, Lloyd Swanton. So I went home and wrote a song that had two chords. So, and then of course I took it to my band. It was Jeff Hughes, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's cool, Shell, but how about, and I thought, yeah, but I'm trying not to have too many chords." But then of course it ended up having other chords. But I just thought, like that was a thing of like, when your hero sort of say something to you and you think, "Oh, maybe I should do that." And then you think, "No, I just got to do what I do." But it was really good that he said that, and he was kind of being funny. He wasn't having a go. He was just, because I was playing all these tunes, with 2-3 chords per bar, and and I was trying to cut changes, and I'm trying to be fancy, and the Catholics and the necks will sit on one note for 2 hours if you let them, so yeah.
But it's good to have people say those things so you think about it, and then you try other things, and then you come to that realization. I mean, that's an important lesson in itself.
It is. And that's and that is a really cool thing, I think, Andrea, about what we do, is that we get to play with other people, and we get, we're constantly being influenced by them, even if they're not sort of giving you advice, like everything they do feeds you. And so, I feel really lucky that I've had a consistent sort of band for a long time, but I love playing with other people. And up until recently, I'd been trying to increase my, traveling overseas and playing with people overseas. That's obviously all gone down the toilet now, but I was doing that more and more, and I had my visa for the States and all that. And I love being able to do that. I do love being able to walk up 10 minutes before a gig and say, "G'day, hi, I'm Michelle. Hi, you're blah, blah. Okay, these are the tunes we're doing, and, the arrangement's all there. It should all work." But if it doesn't, it's cool. And actually believing that and thinking, I don't know if they can play. I mean, they can play. I know they can play. But I can trust that, and they, because I know sometimes I think, "Oh my gosh, she hasn't given me enough information." And I love the fact that everyone's a bit like, okay, because if you're a little bit on edge, everyone's tuned in a bit more. And I don't want it to go exactly like a record that I've done. I don't want that. Even if it's a standard, it's like, I want it to be different. And, you have a chart, which is basically a bit of a map, this is, and sometimes my arrangements are a little bit, they're not elaborate, but there's bits, but I say, if you don't want to play that bit, it's not going to matter. But if you want to play that bit, that's great, and I love that as jazz musicians, we can do that. And so every time you play with someone, it's fresh, you learn something, and unfortunately that I'm a bit sad that that's probably not going to happen for a long, long time. That's what I feel the most sad about. Yeah.
Well, let's hope that we do get back there before too long.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have a motto or a personal philosophy that guides you, or is there any particular advice you can share with us?
I think purple. Everyone should wear lots of purple and love. No, look, honestly, you got to do it for yourself, and you have to know. I would normally say know your blank swear word, but I'm going to say know your stuff. Know your stuff. If like if you're feeling like you if you're not feeling confident, you never do your best. And you're always going to have a little bit of nerves. Nerves are good because a little bit of edge is good, but you've got to know your stuff. Don't go out there unprepared. I mean, that's my biggest thing, like know the music. For me as a singer, like I have this thing about singers reading lyrics. Drives me absolutely nuts. I mean, I understand, sometimes you don't have a long time to learn a song, whatever. But my thing is, if I don't know the song, well, I shouldn't be up there singing it. So, yeah, that's a big thing for me. Like, know your stuff. Go out there, and as a singer, my number one job is to tell a story. So if I'm up there and I'm reading something, how is that? That's not convincing anyone, right? I've got to actually like tell this story to people, and I don't mean in a sort of theatrical sort of eyeballing everybody sort of way. I mean, I'm still kind of, I'm not that type of performer, but I still feel like if people have paid to come and see me, they deserve for me to know the song.
Yeah.
So know your stuff, and do what makes you, want to do it. Do what makes you happy. I mean, you got to do it for yourself, really.
Great
Yeah.
advice. Thank you. And
No worries.
can you finally nominate a song or an album of yours that's somehow significant or important, and tell us a little bit about it?
Okay, now this is hard because I have done a lot, like yourself, Andrea, churned them out over the years. I think I've done 8 albums, and I picked this one because, look at that, I'm going to show you the picture. Look how glamorous I was. And I was really pregnant, so that's why they kind of, they look a bit bigger than normal. But I was really pregnant, and this album was a hell album to record. I remember it because I was sick I was like, and didn't have a great time in the studio, to be honest. But it's an interesting album, I think, because it's one of the first album, I think anyway, there's a couple of my tunes on there. So that's why it's significant to me, because I'd recorded a couple of my tunes before, but I think this is a bit more production and stuff. So the song Drop the Smile on this album is the one that I was talking about, that I went home. It was a reaction to Lloyd Swanton telling me I should have less chords. And if you hear it, it doesn't really have that many chords. It's got a bridge. I mean, none of the next songs have bridges, let's face it. So it's got a bridge. But I think it kind of shows that I do love improvisation. I'm not Cole Porter. I'm not Ira Gershwin. I don't write the best lyric, but it's a lyric in this situation is kind of like a way to keep the story alive enough for an audience who they still want you to tell them a story. And if I find that if I'm singing some lyrics and they connect to that, then they allow me to go off and do solos, because as a vocalist, most audiences are kind of like, what the hell are you doing? You're going off in Scooby-Doo land. If you're a piano player, they expect that. If you're a saxophonist, they'll sit there for hours and listen to you wailing on doing not much. But, as a singer, they think, well, just let the piano player play, or the guitarist solo, right? So for me, I've really noticed over the years that when I sing songs and I somehow morph them into solos and still keep the lyrics alive, that keeps people's interest. And I love doing that, because it's the thing I can do, Andrea, that you can't, because I
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's our point of difference. And as somebody who I do love improvising. Improvising is my number one thing. But I like I said before, I want to keep an audience engaged. I don't want to just stand there and spout stuff at them that they're not interested in. So the lyric is a way of helping keep the connection between the audience. But so that's one of the tunes that I'd probably say it was a bit of a point where I realized, I can do this and not compare myself to Irving Berlin.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear it.
No.
I'll be working out the chords. I'll be counting the chords.
They're easy. D minor, E minor. They had to be easy to play on the piano too, because I wrote it at the piano. That's got an E flat minor at some point, I think. That'll be Jeff Hughes.
Tricky. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, thank you so much, Michelle. That was really fantastic. Thanks for
No
sharing
worries,
your
Andrea.
stories, and all the best. Take care.
Thank you.